5 major constitutional violations. This presentation covers 5 major constitutional violations by the federal government during the first 14 years of our nation's history. Officially, the Constitution was ratified on February the 25th, 1789. The individuals that created the Constitution were still alive, and the ink wasn't even dry yet. The first violation occurred in 1790. Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution states that the number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000 individuals. This number was debated over and over again throughout the course of the deliberations of the delegates. 50,000 persons was suggested, but an agreement could not be reached. Finally, on the last day of the convention, the number of 30,000 was suggested and accepted wholeheartedly by the delegates. When the census of 1790 was taken, it was found that the population of the United States was 3,929,214, which meant that 131 representatives should have been selected. Only 69 were actually elected. Then in the year 1800, the population was 5,308,483, and there were only 106 elected instead of 177. What happened? Today, with a population of over 326 million, we should have 10,873 representatives instead of a paltry 435. There are 749,425 persons for every representative, a ghastly number that completely negates their ability to properly represent their constituents. No amendment to the Constitution has ever changed the number originally ratified in the Constitution. Then in 1791, the first bank of the United States was chartered, and it was considered a central bank. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 5 required that the Congress set the value of the money, not some privately owned company. The pattern of these central banks has continued ever since then without any constitutional authority and always to the detriment of the economy of our nation. The Federal Reserve is also a central bank. Paragraph 18 of the same section does not give Congress the right to abrogate their responsibilities in this regard. This bank was chartered by Congress on March the 25th, 1791, only 23 months after the Constitution was ratified. Thirdly, in 1796, the Supreme Court got in the act by violating Article 6 with a decision in Ware v. Hilton that decided that treaties were the supreme law of the land and superseded the Constitution. The Supreme Court does not make laws or policies. They only provide opinions. They certainly can't unilaterally change the Constitution by themselves. Moving ahead to 1800, the political parties took over the presidential election process in violation of Article 2, Section 1 and Paragraph 3. Get out your copy of Washington's farewell address and you will find 1/3 of it warning us about political parties. They are destroying the election process of our president by making it into a circus with each candidate yelling at the others and attempting to destroy them in the eyes of the public. Beginning in 1800, our election process has become a disaster. We are a republic, and we are supposed to choose representatives to weed through all possible candidates and restrict and select the best statesmen available. A democracy can be likened to 2 wolves and 1 sheep deciding what's for dinner. Read Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution, and then look at the process we are using to elect our president. Does our system look anything like the plan outlined in the Constitution? There has been no amendment changing this paragraph. Finally, move forward to 1803, when Chief Justice Marshall decided properly in Marbury v. Madison that any law not in accordance with the Constitution was null and void. The question then arose as to who should make the decision that a law was unconstitutional, and there's the rub. Using the term judicial review, he decided that it was the Supreme Court's responsibility. He must not have looked at his copy of the Constitution, as Article 3 does not give the Supreme Court any authority to do that. Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter 28 September 1820 that pointed out precisely why the Constitution does not give that authority to the Supreme Court. He explained that the people have the responsibility to make that decision. What actually happened, based on this court decision, is that the Supreme Court has set itself up as the supreme power in the federal government. No law or action can be taken by any branch of the federal government without their approval, and that situation still goes on today in complete violation of the Constitution. Because of this decision, today the court passes laws that strike down constitutional laws and activities of the other branches and controls everything they decide to put their hand to. They are in fact emperors of our nation, and they completely fill that role as any other emperor does.